On Small Cap Power, we're joined by Chris Johnson, President and CEO of Crown Capital Partners. Chris, thank you for being with us today.
My pleasure.
All right, so let's jump into it and talk about your business strategy and model for Crown Capital.
Right, well, Crown Capital is a non-bank commercial lender. We focus on successful Canadian companies that are looking to raise capital. We weed it down to the key companies we want to invest in.
Right, so I understand that Crown Capital, you say that the middle market in Canada is the unsung hero.
Right.
What do you mean by that?
Well, it's, I think when people think of the engines of an economy, they think of the big companies. They see these, big companies with thousands of employees, but people fail to recognize that nearly 3/4 of private sector jobs are these small and mid-sized companies. In the sector we focus on, which is the mid-sized market as opposed to all SMEs, it's nearly 1/3 of Canada's GDP.
Right.
So these are the companies that are growing, they're creating jobs, and they are really the unsung heroes of our economy.
Well, what do you offer at Crown Capital that's different from traditional lenders?
Well, I think in large part we provide capital when the traditional lenders don't, and I think many companies who've run businesses for a long time often get frustrated with traditional options. They're trying to grow, and typically they'd have a bank as a lender, and it's not always giving them the amount of capital they need and the flexibility of capital they need. And us as the specialist in business lending, we see the growth, we see the value of the growth, and we'll provide them the capital they need.
All right, so obviously the economy in Canada has been hot lately,
Yep.
And private business investment has bounced back. What kinds of impacts does it have for Crown Capital and the companies you invest in?
Well, it's great. When companies are growing, they're using capital, and when they're generating profits and they're doing things, and that's a market we lend into. And so if you look at our portfolio, it's some of our top performing Canadian businesses, and they continue to grow. So that's great.
And so what sorts of reasons do shareholders have to look at Crown Capital? Why invest in it?
Well, I think Crown is an access to some of these companies that you may drive down the road and see these businesses on the side of the highways and think, hey, that's an interesting business. You can't make investments in them, but by investing in Crown, you get access to these. This market of thousands of companies. These top performing companies are growing using value. We do it in a way where we limit the volatility. We're a lender, we're not an equity investor, so we get a coupon and we get some participation generally in profits. We've been profitable since the first day we started the company, and we generate a lot of cash, which we use that to fund a dividend.
The lending market is competitive, but how do you have an edge, and how do you, beat the other people who are your competitors?
Right. It's anything worth doing is going to have competition. If you look at Crown's track record, we've been in business for 17 years. We're one of the longest standing alternative lenders in the country. Really, our track record speaks for itself. People refer clients to us because of the success we've had in their businesses. So the longer we run our business and the more supportive and successes we have with our existing clientele, the more people want to come and do business with Crown.
Right. So we just talked about how your shareholders have access to companies in your portfolio. Let's talk about a couple of them.
Sure. Well, Crown is a diversified, strategy. So we do things ranging from, technology to manufacturing to, some commodity stuff. And, a couple companies we think really strongly about is Medicure, which is a public company. They're a Winnipeg-based pharmaceutical company, and we help facilitate a large acquisition for them. And we see a lot of value in that company, and a lot of, as they evolve and get the information out in terms of what they really bought and the true opportunities that company has, we think it's a great company, and there's going to be lots of profits for shareholders there. Another one, we financed when it was private, a company called Source Energy. It's a frac sand producer or distributor based in Alberta. They went public this year, and we see that as a great long-term business as large energy companies, the top AAA guys are using this sort of non-conventional means of accessing the reserves, and frac sand's a key part of that.
Right. Now, I also understand that you have focused on energy services and energy in general, while traditional banks typically don't. Why is that, and is that a risk?
Yeah, I wouldn't say we're focused on it. I'd say we're diversified, but we do see tremendous value in that market. It's one of the opportunities at Crown is we're not constrained by some of the pressures maybe the banks have in terms of trying to reduce exposure. When the banks reduce exposure to a sector and they have considerably withdrawn from that marketplace, there's tremendous opportunity that's still there. And so if you see some of the companies we've lent into, They're fantastic companies. They're survivors. They're going to perform very well even in a low commodity cycle, and extremely well in an upward improving commodity cycle. But again, we're lenders, and in terms of how we've lent into these businesses, I don't think our positions are an abnormal risk.
All right. Well, Chris, thank you so much for joining us today.
My pleasure.
To learn more from experts or fund managers like Chris, make sure you visit smallcappower.com and sign up for our free newsletter.